Welcome back, everybody. What's up, man? Welcome back, Kingdom Builders, Road Trippers. Welcome to the road trip. Hallelujah, man. Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Akeem, Akatim, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, aunties, and uncles, grandmas and grandpas, everybody in the house. Hallelujah, man. Shalom. Peace and blessings to your homes, your dwelling places, your children, your loved ones, your friends, and your pets. All that good stuff that you need in your life, Mishpachah. That's right, fam. All right. All praises to the Most High. All praises to the Most High. That's right, man. That's right. All praises to the Most High. All praises to Yahweh. Glory to Yahweh Shai. Honors to the Ruach HaKodesh. My love and my respect goes out to each and every single one of you, Kingdom Builders, Road Trippers. All right. Cool. So guess what? We're still in the book of Enoch, but now we're in section 3, the astronomical book. That's what section 3 is called. And it starts off at chapter 72, okay? All right. So now that we're all on that page, literally and figuratively, we can go ahead and get started, right? You got a few moments if you want to follow along with me. Go ahead, get your scrolls out, whether they're physical or digital, does not matter. If you want to follow along, that would be great. If not, just sit back and relax. I'll go ahead and read the best that I can, all right? So with no further ado, we'll get started in just a moment. Chapter 72, Section 3, the astronomical book. Let's begin. Let's begin. Chapter 72, and it reads, The book of the courses of the luminaries of heaven, the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel, the Kodesh angel who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws, exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world, and unto eternity, until the new creation is accomplished, which endures until eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven, and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets. And the moon rises and sets in these portals. And the leaders of the stars, and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. Also many windows to the right and left of these portals. First there goes out the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven, and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of the heaven. In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the 4th. Those 6 portals in that cast. And in the 4th portal, from which the sun rises in the first month, are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun rises in the heaven, he comes out through that 4th portal 30 mornings in succession, and sets accurately in the 4th portal in the west of the heaven. And during this period of the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter, in the 13th morning. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun rises from the 4th portal and sets in the 4th, and returns in the 5th portal of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it and sets in the 5th portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises and sets in the 6th portal 1 and 30 mornings, on account of its sign. On that day the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer. And the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part, and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes out from the 6th portal in the west and goes to the east and rises in the 5th portal for 30 mornings and sets in the west again in the 5th western portal. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts, and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes out from the 5th portal and sets in the 5th portal of the west and rises in the 4th portal of the for 31 mornings on account of its sign and sets in the west. On that day the day is equalized with the night and becomes of equal length. And the night amounts to 9 parts and the day to 9 parts. 21. And the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west and returns to the east and rises 30 mornings in the 3rd portal and sets in the west in the 3rd portal. And on that day the night becomes longer than the day, and night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day until the 13th morning. And the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that 3rd portal and sets in the 3rd portal of the west and returns to the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the 2nd portal in the east, and in like manner sets in the 2nd portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from the 2nd portal and sets in the west in the 2nd portal and returns to the east into the 1st portal for 130 mornings, and sets in the 1st portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day the night becomes longer and amounts to the double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts and the day to 6. And the sun has therewith traversed the divisions of its orbit, and turns again on those divisions of his orbit, and enters that portal 30 mornings, and sets also in the west opposite to it. And on that night has the night decreased in length by a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And the sun has returned and entered into the 2nd portal in the east, and returns on those his divisions of his orbit for 30 mornings rising and setting. And on that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east and rises in the 3rd portal for 130 mornings, and sets in the west of the heaven. On that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days 364. And the length of the day and the night, and the shortness of the day and the night arise through the course of the sun. These distinctions are made. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer, and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and his return as often as he returns 60 times and rises. The great luminary which is named the sun forever and ever. And that which rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according as the Most High commanded. As he rises, so he sets, and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night, and his light is 7-fold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal. They're both the same size. Okay. That's the end of chapter 72. We're about to go 73. Let's begin, all right? Let's get ready. Okay, chapter 73, and it reads, And after this law I saw law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon, and her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind, and light is given to her in definite measure. And her rising and setting change every month, and her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniform, it amounts to the 7th part of the night of the sun. And so she rises, and her first phase in the east comes out of the 13th morning, and on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 13th day together, with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. And the 1/2 of her goes out by a 7th part, and her whole circumference is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part of the half thereof. And she sets with the sun. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with him, and receives the half of 1 part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun, and is invisible that night with the 14th part and the half of one of them. And she rises on that day with exactly a 7th part, and comes out and recedes from the rising of the sun, and in her remaining days she becomes bright, and in the remaining 13 parts. That's the end of chapter 73. All right. So try to picture this, right? All right. I'm going to try to explain the best that I can from what I'm reading here. So imagine you got all these portals up here. You got 6 portals, right? Eastward, westward, right? And you have a flat plane, right? So if it's going through these portals and returning through other portals, that sounds like an orbit, right? So the orbit is not exactly like you would think, like a rotational orbit. If it's going through portals, it's kind of like a scrolling, scanning kind of movement across the sky. As it travels through a portal, then it rises through another portal, and then it sets through a different portal, right? Then it returns back, right? But it always goes from east to west, right? And as it's going throughout the year, and you hear that when it's equal, and you have equal 9 parts and 9 parts, right? Or because there's a total of 18 parts if you're doing the math here, right? So if it's a total of 9 and 9, that's when you have basically you're kind of like in fall or in spring, right? Because the days and the nights are the same length. In the summertime, you're going to have the greater part in the daytime, right? It's going to have most of the part there, right? You have a 13th part, or not a 13th, but a 12th part of the day and a 6th part of the night, right? Likewise, in the wintertime, you're going to have a 6th part of the day and a 12th part of the night, right? That's when the sun sets at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Or in the summertime, when you have the 12th part of the day and the 6th part of the night, then that's when you get your sunset at like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I'm trying to explain it the best way that I can. And the moon is doing a similar kind of action through these portals. However, instead of being fully illuminated, the illumination of the moon, her light changes. But the sun doesn't. The sun is just, without measure, just fully blazing, right? So that's what I'm getting from that. If you guys have anything else, put it in the comments. Let's talk about it, all right? Let's jump back into chapter 74, okay? But it's really cool, man. It's really cool to think about. I wish I could just draw it out. I'm going to draw it out, I think, so I can be able to talk about it easier. Anyway, we don't have time for that right now. We're going to go for chapter 74, and we'll circle back to this. I'm sure we will. All right, let's continue, fam. Chapter 74, and it reads, "And I saw another course, a law for her, and how according to the law she performs her monthly revolution. And all these Uriel the Kodesh angel, who was the leader of them all, showed to me, and their positions, and I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me. And I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights, until 15 days were accomplished. In single seventh part she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in single seventh parts accomplishes all her darkness in the west. And in certain months she alters her setting, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 middle portals, the 3rd and the 4th, she goes out for 7 days and turns about and returns again through the portal where the sun rises and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes from the sun, and in 8 days enters the 6th portal from which the sun goes out. And when the sun goes out from the 4th portal, she goes out 7 days, until she goes out from the 5th and returns back again in 7 days into the 4th portal, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes and enters into the 1st portal in 8 days, and she returns again in 7 days into the 4th portal, okay, from which the sun goes out. So I saw their position, how the moons rose, and the sun sets in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days, and all the days with accrue to it. For one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the overplus of the sun and of the stars amount to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance nor delay their position by a single day unto eternity, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years there are 1,092 days. And in 5 years, 1,820 days. So that in 8 years, there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days. And in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind. There is 5 to be added, 1,062 days. And in 5 years, there are 1,770 days, so that for the moon, the days 6 and 8 years amount to 21,832 days. For in 8 years she falls behind to the amount of 80 days. All the 17 days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with the world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portals through which the sun, rises and sets 30 days. That's the end of chapter 74. All right. 75, and it reads, and the leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the four intercalary days, being inseparable from their office according to the reckoning of the year, and these render service on the 4 days, which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. And owing to them, men go wrong therein. For those luminaries truly render service on the world stations, one in the first portal, one in the third portal of the heaven, one in the fourth portal, and one in the sixth portal. And the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. For the signs and the times and the years and the days the angel Uriel showed to me, whom the Most High of Glory has set forever over all the luminaries of the heaven, in the heaven and in the world, that they should rule on the face of the heaven, and be seen on the earth, and be leaders for the day and for the night, the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the ministering creatures which make their revolution, and all the chariots of the heaven. In like manner 12 doors Uriel showed me open in the circumference of the sun's chariot in the heaven, through which the rays of the sun break out, and from them is warmth diffused over the earth, when they are opened at their appointed seasons. And for the winds, and the ruach of the dew, when they are opened, standing open in the heavens at the ends. As for the 12 portals in the heaven at the ends of the earth, out of which go out the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven in the east and in the west, there are many windows open to the left and right of them, and one window at its appointed season produces warmth corresponding, as these do, to those doors from which the stars come out according as he has commanded them, and wherein they set corresponding to their number. So heat and warmth come out of portals, not necessarily tied to the sun. They're not necessarily isolated to the sun. They're coming out of portals, but they're coming out of corresponding portals that the sun goes through. So it almost appears as if the sun is emitting this heat, but the sun is emitting the light. The portals are emitting the radiant heat. Verse 8, and it says, and I saw chariots in the heaven running in the world above those portals in which revolve the stars that never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that makes its course through the entire world. That's the end of chapter 75, okay? Chapter 76. All right, let's go, fam. And it reads, and at the ends of the earth I saw 12 portals open to all the quarters of the heaven, from which the winds go out and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face, the east of the heavens, and 3 on the west, and 3 on the right, the south of the heaven, and 3 on the left, the north. And the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are of the north, and 3 after those on the left of the south, and 3 of the west. Through 4 of these come winds of blessing and prosperity, and from those 8 come hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth, and on the water upon it, and on all who dwell thereon, and on everything which is in the water and on the land. And the first wind from those portals, called the east wind, comes out through the first portal, which is in the east, inclining toward the south. From it come out desolation, drought, heat, and destruction. And through the second portal in the middle comes what is fitting, and from it there come rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew. And through the third portal, which lies toward the north, come cold and drought. And after these come out the south winds through 3 portals. Through the first portal of them, inclining to the east, comes out a hot wind. And through the middle portal next to it, there come out fragrant smells and dew and rain and prosperity and health. And through the third portal lying to the west come out dew and rain, locust and desolation. And after these the north winds from the 7th portal and the east come dew and rain, locust and desolation. And from the middle portal come in a direction health and rain and dew and prosperity. And through the third portal of the west comes cloud and hoarfrost and snow and rain and dew and locust. Okay, so I'm just going to interject real quick. So let's say you got all these portals. 3 portals to the north, 3 portals to the south, 3 portals to the east, and 3 portals to the west. Out of each one of these directions, you have 3 portals, right? 2 out of 3 of those portals on each side has destruction and like bad stuff that comes out. And 1 out of the 3 has a blessing or like prosperity. So there's something good that comes out of each direction, and there's more 2/3 that are bad that come out, which is a parallel to the people of Yasharel, right? 1/3 will be saved and 2/3 are horrible. See, it's broken down to threes, right? So I thought that was interesting. I thought I was going to note that. Let's continue. Verse 12. And after these four are the west winds. Through the first portal adjoining the north come out dew and hoarfrost and cold and snow and frost. And from the middle portal come out dew and rain and prosperity, see, and blessing, see. And through the last portal which adjoins the south come out drought and desolation and burning and destruction. See, that was 2 out of 3. 1 had good, 2 had bad. 14. Let's finish this up, all right? And the 12 portals of the 4 quarters of the heaven are therewith completed, and all their laws and all their plagues and all their benefactions have I shown to you, my son Methuselah. That's the end of chapter 76. So you see, so there's 12 portals, right? And out of those 12 portals, 4 of them, 1 from each direction, has a blessing and prosperity, right? And the other 8, right, 2 from each direction are going to give some kind of destruction, drought, famine, locust, something that's going to be bad. Fire, flame, right, ice, cold, frost, all that kind of stuff. So that's how it's broken down. 1/3 is always going to be good. 2/3 are always going to be bad. Whether it's with the seasons, weather, portals, blessings versus curses, or even people, 1/3 versus 2/3. There's always going to be that breakdown. That was a great parallel. That's going to get back into chapter 77. You ready? We're going to get ready to start here. Chapter 77, and it reads, And the first quarter is called the east, because it is the first, and the second the south, because the Most High will descend there. Yea, there in quite a special sense will he, who is blessed forever, descend. And the west quarter is named the diminished, because there all the luminaries of heaven wane and go down. Right, that's always the setting of them. And the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into 3 parts. The first of them is for the dwelling of men, and the second contains seas of water, and the abysses, and the forest, and the rivers, and the darkness, and the clouds. And the third part contains the garden of righteousness. I saw 7 high mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth, and there comes out hoarfrost, and days, seasons, and years pass away. I saw 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. One of them coming from the west pours its water into the great sea. And there too come from the north to the sea, and pour their waters into the Erythraean. Sorry, that's always a hard one for me. Erythraean Sea in the east. And the remaining 4 come out of the side of the north to their own sea, 2 of them to the Erythraean Sea, and 2 into the great sea, and discharge themselves there. And some say, into the desert. 7 great islands I saw in the sea and in the mainland, 2 in the mainland, and 5 in the great sea. That's the end of chapter 77. All right, hallelujah. Cool. All right, let's get back into chapter 78, okay? Let's see. Chapter 78, and it reads, And the names of the sun are the following. The first, Orjares. The second, Tomas. And the moon has 4 names. The first name is Asonja. The second, Elba. The third, Benase. And the fourth, Area. These are the 2 great luminaries. Their circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and the size of the circumference of both is alike. They're the same size, exact same size, just different illumination. In the circumference of the sun, there are 7 portions of light, which are added to it more than to the moon. And in definite measures, it is transferred until the 7th portion of the sun is exhausted. And they set and enter the portals of the west, and make their revolution by the north, and come out through the eastern portals of the face of the heaven. And when the moon rises, 1/14th part appears in the heaven. The light becomes full in her. On the 14th day she accomplishes her light, and 15 parts of light are transferred to her until the 15th day, when her light is accomplished according to the sign of the year, and she becomes 15 parts. And the moon grows by the addition of 14th parts. And in her waning, the moon decreases on the first day to 14 parts of her light. On the second to 13th parts, on the second to 13 parts of light, on the third to 12, on the 4th to 11, on the 5th to 10, on the 6th to 9, and on the 7th to 8, on the 8th to 7, and on the 9th to 6, on the 10th to 5, and on the 11th to 4, and on the 12th to 3, and on the 13th to 2, and on the 14th to the half of the 7th, and on her remaining light disappears wholly on the 15th. And in certain months, the month has 29 days and 128. And Uriel showed me another law. When light is transferred to the moon, and on which side it is transferred to her by the sun, during all the period during which the moon is growing in her light, she is transferring it to herself when opposite to the sun during 14 days. Her light is accomplished in the heaven, and when she is illuminated throughout, her light is accomplished full in the heaven. And on the first day she is called the new moon, for on that day the light rises upon her. She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night. And the moon shines the whole night through until the sun rises over against her, and the moon is seen over against the sun. On the side from where the light of the moon comes out, there again she wanes until all the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end. And her circumference is empty, void of light. And 3 months she makes of 30 days, and in her time she makes 3 months of 29 days each, and which she accomplishes her waning in the first period of time. And in the first portal of 177 days, and in the time of her going out, she appears for 3 months, 30 days each, and for 3 months she appears of 29 each. At night she appears like a man for 20 days each, and by day she appears like the heaven, and there is nothing else in her save her light. Wow, that was Salake, man. That was kind of rough trying to get through that. All right, we're gonna keep going though. Let's get chapter 79, okay? 79, and it reads, "And now, my son, I have shown you everything, and the law of all the stars of the heaven is completed. And he showed me all the laws of these for every day, and for every season of bearing rule, and for every year, and for its going out, and for the order prescribed to it every month and every week, and the waning of the moon, which takes place in the sixth portal. For in the sixth portal her light is accomplished, and after that there is the beginning of the waning, and the waning, which takes place in the first portal in its season until 177 days are accomplished, reckoned according to weeks, 25 weeks and 2 days. She falls behind the sun and the order of the stars exactly 5 days in the course of one period. And when this place which you see has been traversed, such is the picture and sketch of every luminary which Uriel the archangel, who is their leader, showed unto me." That's the end of chapter 79. All right, we'll get one more. We'll get 80 on the door. Okay, we'll get 80 to the door. Salake for the mistakes, y'all. Bear with me. All right, this is part of the rougher parts. Okay, we'll get through it. Chapter 80, and it reads. "And in those days the angel Uriel answered and said to me, Behold, I have shown you everything, Enoch, and I have revealed everything to you, that you should see this sun and this moon, and the leaders of the stars of the heaven, and all those who turn them, their tasks and times and departures. And in the days of the sinners the years will be shortened, and their seed will be tardy on their lands and fields, and all things on the earth will alter, and will not appear in their time. And the rain will be kept back, and the heaven will withhold it." Isn't that what's happening right now? People say that the time's speeding up. We are in those days. He tells you right here in chapter 80. So the way you're feeling is not random. It was prophesied. Verse 3, and it reads, "And in those times the fruits of the earth will be backward, and will not grow in their time, and the fruits of the trees will be withheld in their time, and the moon will alter her order, and not appear at her time." See, sometimes you got the moon showing up in the daytime. You know what I mean? You see the moon in the day, like what's going on? "And in those days the sun will be seen, and he will journey in the evening on the extremity of the great chariot in the west, and will shine more brightly than accords with the order of light." See? Remember how the sun used to be yellow? Now all of a sudden it looks like a really bright white? He's talking about it right there in verse 5. Let's read it again. "And in those days the sun will be seen, and he will journey in the evening on the extremity of the great chariot in the west, and will shine more brightly than accords with the order of light. And many chiefs of the stars will transgress the order prescribed, and these will alter their orbits and tasks, and not appear at the seasons prescribed to them. And the whole order of the stars will be concealed from the sinners, and the thoughts of those on the earth will err concerning them, and they will be altered from all their ways. Yea, they will err and take them to be gods. And evil will be multiplied upon them, and punishment will come upon them so as to destroy all." And that's the end of chapter 80. And we're going to stop it there, okay? We're going to pick up on 81. Yeah, we're going to pick up on 81 on the next one. Oh, wow. And then after 81 and 82, we're going to be right there in section 4 of Enoch. We're moving right along. All right. So I'll see y'all real soon. I hope you enjoyed the read. Sorry for the mistakes. Salake, man. I was slipping up a little bit there. Struggling, man. Enoch is not easy when it gets into the portal talk. It's even harder to understand it than to read it. You know what I mean? But if you kind of picture these portals in your head, you can kind of paint a picture of what he's talking about here, right? Just take it slow, little by little, and try to understand east and west, north and south, right? 12 portals, 3 on each direction. All right? So anyway, we're going to get back into this one. All praise to the Most High. I really appreciate having y'all with me. I really enjoyed the read. But in the meantime, in between time, shalom, shalom. Peace and blessings to each and every single one of you, your homes, your dwelling places, right? All that good stuff that you need in your life, family. That's right, Kingdom Builders. Stay safe out there. Until I see y'all again, man. All praises to the Most High. I love y'all already. See you soon. Yeah.